So previously we have used the createAsyncThunk function of the Redux Toolkit to create this asynchronous operation. So here we are using the asynchronous function to fetch data from one API, and then it will return the data. Now the createAsyncThunk function is so powerful that it does lot of the things behind the scene automatically. Like an example here, it will automatically manage the loading success and failure of this asynchronous operation, and we have defined extra reducer for that. So in case the fetch is pending, then we're gonna set the loading to true. In case the fetch is fulfilled or successful, in that case we're gonna set the loading false, and we're gonna set the users array to the data we received from the action payload. And in case the fetch is rejected or failed, we're gonna set the loading to false, and the state error will be the action error message. So once we have done with our reducer, then we have exported the reducer, and then inside the store we have used the reducer along with other reducer. So previously we have been using this dummy API. Let's now use one real API where we're gonna perform some API call, and also we're gonna fetch data, and we're gonna create one React component to render those data. Inside the JSON placeholder we have this users API. So this API returns 10 user data with their ID, name, email, and lot of other details. So we're gonna use that API. So let's just copy this, and here we're gonna paste the API endpoint, and that's it. We are done with defining the user slice. Now we have to create one React component to render the user's data. So here under the user folder we're gonna create the React component, and we're gonna call this userList.js. So let's now define the component. So first of all we need to import useDispatch and useSelector from the React Redux. So let's now use the dispatch. So we're gonna call the useDispatch, and then we're gonna use this useSelector to get the state from the store. So we're gonna use the useSelector, and this will take the entire state, and from the state we're gonna get only the state.user. So we're gonna destructure, and we're gonna get the loading, users, and the error. Now to get the users list we have to dispatch this fetch user. So here we have to import the fetch user, and now we can dispatch the fetch user, but we do not want it to perform this dispatch on every render of this component. So for this we're gonna use the use effect hook. So we're gonna move the dispatch inside the use effect, and only going to dispatch whenever we have change in the dispatch. So the use effect will make sure that the fetch user will be dispatched only once whenever the component mounts, and this way we can avoid unnecessary refetching of the data. So we have dispatched the fetch user, and also we have the data from the store. So let's now render them. So in case if the loading is true, in that case we are going to return loading, which will show loading, and in case if we have some error, then we are going to return h2 with the error message. Otherwise we are going to render the user's data that we have fetched from the API. So here we're gonna render that. So first of all we're gonna create one heading, and then we're gonna use the unordered list, and inside that we're gonna render all of the users details. So here we're gonna do users.map. So for every user we're going to return one list item, and inside the list we're gonna render the user.name, and also we're gonna render the user's email. So user.email, and because we are rendering the list, so every list item should have one unique key. We're gonna use the user ID as a key of the every list item. So we are done with our UI. Now we have to render this. So here we're gonna import user list. So previously we have this counter, so under this counter component we're gonna render the users list component. So everything rendered successfully. So here you can see we have the users list. So if we refresh, so first of all we can see the loading, and once we have the data, then the users list will be rendered with the username and the email inside one unordered list. So this is the way we can use the createAsyncThunk function, and we can perform this asynchronous data fetching, and then we can render this data inside the users list React component. So hope you understand the concept. See you in the next one. Take care.